Hello and welcome to the Motoring News Zone, the show you take you through all the biggest stories in the world of cars right now. This week, a tow truck driver is facing 10 years in prison for towing an ICE vehicle. A state trooper in Tennessee has come under fire for multiple false DUI arrests, and truck drivers are getting licenses illegally all over the country. That according to the police down in Florida. Find out why and a whole lot more in today's show. If you're watching on YouTube, skip to the timestamps in the video description to see the story that you're most interested in. So, without further delay, let's dive in. Here's a strange one. Very much a severe one, though, going off of the consequences here. A tow truck driver has been slapped with a federal charge after hauling away an ICE vehicle. Why was he trying to do this? And what kind of punishment is he getting for this one? Given it's a federal one, probably a big one. But let's have a look, guys. Absolutely bizarre over in the US. So, a tow truck driver in Los Angeles is facing a federal charge for towing an Immigration and Customs Enforcement ICE vehicle on August 15th, and he could be behind bars for 10 years if he's found guilty. Bobby Nunez was allegedly laughing and filming as he towed away a vehicle belonging to ICE agents. If he's filming with his phone while he's driving, that's also an additional offence too, surely. Anyway, pretty bad he's doing that in the first place. The agents were in the middle of an operation to arrest an illegal immigrant and had their emergency lights flashing as they boxed in the target's vehicle with their own to prevent her escape. So it's not even like they could have been mistaken for anything else. If they've got the blues and twos on, then it's pretty obvious they're an emergency responder or some kind of official like that. Acting US Attorney Bill Saley posted the following to X on Tuesday of this week. Quote, apparently he thought it would be funny to interfere with our immigration enforcement operations. Now he can laugh behind bars while he faces justice. Nunez is looking up to 10 years in a federal prison if convicted. End quote. Nunez allegedly also used the car door of the illegal immigrant's vehicle to hit an officer with the passenger side door. Well, that's assault if he's done that. And now a viral video posted by Saley shows a chaotic scene as the illegal immigrant was arrested at the same time an officer was seen trying to chase down the tow truck on foot. And I have watched these videos as well, just very short clips online of the guy being arrested and also the person in this allegedly towing away a vehicle. And it is 100% being towed away. You can clearly see it in the video. The lights are on. It's clearly, some kind of enforcement officer's vehicle of some description. So there can be no kind of mistake in terms of thinking, oh, that's just an ordinary truck or whatever that's illegally parked. There's no excuse for that. Now, why he's done this is, I really don't know what the explanation is for this. I don't know if it's some kind of protest or what here, but yeah, very serious consequences come in this man's way. And like I said, they eventually tracked him down using videos posted to social media site TikTok of all things. Maybe TikTok's not all bad after all. The arrest comes as tension between activists and the federal government remain high in LA as a judge issued an injunction on Tuesday saying that the Trump administration was not authorized to send the National Guard in to quell anti-ICE protests back in June. Did plenty of videos on that at the time. Very much a crazy story indeed. And of course, Gavin Newsom, the governor of California, just had to stick his nose in when it came to this, saying on X, quote, Donald Trump loses again in all caps. The courts agree his militarization of our streets and use of the military against US citizens is illegal, end quote. Anders Saley, unsurprisingly, has responded to this, saying, quote, the military will remain in Los Angeles. This is a false narrative and a misleading injunction. The military has never engaged in direct law enforcement operations here in LA. Saley went on to say, they protect our federal employees, our properties, so our federal agents can safely enforce federal laws in the face of thugs being unleashed and encouraged by state and local politicians, end quote. I'm not getting any more into that. According to the Department of Homeland Security, ICE agents are currently facing a 1,000% uptick in assaults since the same time last year. So yeah, absolutely bizarre incident. I have no idea why he's done this. It must be some kind of protest. It clearly is not an honest mistake, and I'd be shocked if he gets anything less than 10 years, to be honest, the maximum. We'll have to see what happens there, guys, but yeah, get your thoughts on this one in the comments below. I've been doing a lot of talking about Harjinder Singh, the illegal immigrant who, of course, killed 3 people in the state of Florida while doing an illegal U-turn on a highway. A really tragic incident. And As bad as that is, unfortunately, it kind of is the tip of the iceberg, really, when it comes to the malpractice of truck drivers' licenses over in the United States. Because my biggest question out of all of this wasn't, why he did this. He's made a mistake, whether he did it deliberately or not. That's for a court of law to find out over in the state of Florida. That's not for me to determine. But really, the steps that were taken, the warning signs that were missed, the speeding charges, the fact that this guy, despite being in the United States illegally, managed to get a legal driver's license for not only a vehicle of any kind, which is bad enough, but a semi-trailer, a semi-truck, a huge vehicle that, as we saw in the state of Florida, has tragic consequences. When you do a bit of malpractice, when you do poor driving, it can literally cost people's lives. And in this case, it cost 3 people's lives. So my big question was, how can they do this? How did he manage to get a license in the state of California? How did this happen? Well, something that has happened in Florida that is separate to this, but very much related as well, very much uncovers the extent to which these people, these immigrants, are getting these licenses technically legally, in a sense, and I will go into more detail about that, but also incredibly illegally, not in the spirit of the regulations, as it were, because the Duval County Sheriff's Office in Jacksonville, Florida, has arrested 5 people who were alleged to have cheated on their commercial driver's license exams using hidden cameras and earpieces. Now, the CDL exam is essentially what you need to pass to be able to get a truck license, a semi-license, to be able to pilot that vehicle. And I've got to credit First Coast News, and I had absolute goosebumps, and indeed I still have goosebumps. It's a bit chilly here in the UK today, but I think I've got goosebumps really because of the extent to which this is happening. And this, again, is the tip of the iceberg. The Sheriff's County office there is very firmly saying that this is happening all over the United States. So how are they doing this? How are they getting away with this? And how have they been caught this time? Well, like I said, 5 men have been arrested in connection with this scheme. And the charges laid against them are felony charges, including communications fraud and unlawful license applications. Like I said, these people have earpieces in, allegedly, and they have iPhones in. Basically, what they do is that they have a button shirt and they undo the shirt. And you can see this on the camera footage as well. There is literal camera footage that has been used to incriminate these people. They literally just undo their buttons like that. I don't have a button shirt, but you get the point. And in there is an iPhone. There is a phone, a mobile phone that will show whatever is on the screen, and then the camera will then show what is on the screen, and there will be somebody in the parking lot just outside, just parked up with a microphone and an earpiece, and they'll be able to see what the person is seeing. They'll be able to see the question, and they will actually relay the question to them and the answer that they need to take in their native language. This is why Harjinder Singh, I imagine, is able to get, or was able to get, a legal license in California, even though he doesn't speak English. He failed the English assessment. And we know this. He doesn't speak English. He was said this when he was caught by officers in the states of Washington and New Mexico as well. He doesn't speak English. How can he pass a written exam to be able to drive a truck? Well, because he never had to speak English. He had the thing being relayed to him in Hindi or whatever his native language is over in India. And according to a contact I have over in the United States as well, who wishes to remain anonymous, understandably so, but he is aware of operations where this is happening on state level in a lot of different states where the CDL exams are not very stringent. In some states, they are actually very stringent. They are very strict. You won't be able to get away with this, but presumably in some states such as California and Florida, as these findings have shown, it is a lot more lax. It is a lot easier to get these licenses and pass the tests. Interestingly, though, out of the 5 men that were arrested because of these alleged charges, only 1 was sentenced, another 1 was sent over to the border force, and 3 of them had their charges dropped, which is very strange. I don't understand that, but maybe the courts over in Florida can explain that one. Like I said, I do implore you, go check out First Coast News. They have a full news report and a full video on that. I would show that during this, but that would be very much a copyright infringement. So do go over to the website and do check that out. It is on their X page as well. So yeah, really, really concerning stuff. And I imagine a lot more of this is going to come out in other states, particularly California as well, because like I said, that is where Harjinder Singh got his license from. I believe he also got one from the state of Washington as well. I know he was caught speeding there at least. So yeah, really concerning stuff, guys. Is this a surprise to you? It was to me. You know, I knew they were getting in somehow, they were getting these licenses somehow, but I didn't know how they were actually doing it. And the way they are doing it is so blatant. I mean, I'm sorry, but if you're seeing someone snaking around like that in a chair while they're trying to do a test, it's a bit sus. You would go over and have a look and say, what the hell's going on here? Especially if the guy can't even speak the most basic English, going up to you and saying, no, this is my name or whatever, or trying to say that before the exam. Strange stuff to be sure, guys. Well, there's been a lot of talk about illegal immigrants in the United States, or as people like to call them over there, illegal aliens. And there's been hundreds arrested in an immigration raid at a Hyundai plant in the state of Georgia. Big story this, guys. Let's have a look at what's happened here on the channel as always. On September 4, federal agents arrested hundreds of people at a sprawling battery plant construction site in the state of Georgia in one of the Trump administration's largest immigration raids yet. The Federal Bureau of Alcohol, Tobacco, Firearms and Explosives announced agents from the Department of Homeland Security, FBI and the DEA, as well as Georgia State Patrol, took part in the operation at Hyundai's battery plant in Bryan County, southwest of Savannah, Georgia. Agents apprehended around 450 people suspected of being in the country illegally, the ATF said in a social media post on site X. The Department of Homeland Security said in an email that Immigration and Customs Enforcement, ICE, Homeland Security Investigations, executed a judicial search warrant for an ongoing criminal investigation for alleged unlawful employment practices and other federal crimes. The agency didn't clarify how many agents took part in the operation, nor the charges that those detainees face. Stephen Schrank. Did he? I didn't notice he got so small. Special agent in charge of Homeland Security Investigations Atlanta said the following on this. We are making many arrests of undocumented individuals. We have encountered many lawful employees working here, United States citizens and lawful permanent residents, and they are of course being released. Schrank went on to say that there were no injuries or uses of force in the operation, and he said more details will be released soon. If you're wondering, the facility itself is the HLGA Battery Company, which is a battery plant that is joint owned by motor giants from Korea, Hyundai, and also LG Energy Solutions too. It is under construction next to the Hyundai Motor Group Meta Plant America at the site that spans nearly 3,000 acres. Hyundai's new $7.6 billion plant in a rural area near Savannah has promised to transform the local economy and workforce. The facility is estimated to create at least 8,500 jobs by 2030. Hyundai spokesman Bianca Johnson said in an email that there was no impact to the Meta plant or its production, and said that they are cooperating with law enforcement and are committed to abiding by all labour and immigration regulations. And she also stated that work at the plant has been paused to aid with the investigation of the agents. So, yeah, interesting, guys. I mean, 450 people arrested. That doesn't necessarily mean that all of those have been charged with anything. They said that quite a few people have been released as well in that statement. So, we don't know how many alleged illegal aliens were involved in this raid there. But it is a huge one nonetheless, even if it's half of those, even if it's a quarter of those, you're talking about over 100 people. Questions, though, have got to be asked of the employers as well, not just the employees. Obviously, if they are in the country illegally, that is illegal. But why are the employers going and giving these people jobs despite not being legally in the United States? They're not doing proper background checks. It's very underhanded. Some cynics may even say that they are doing this to get cheap labour for the construction of their plant. That's just an opinion. That may be my opinion. That may not be for legal reasons, but you understand the sentiment here. So questions have got to be asked of the employers as well. I'm sure there'll be a full investigation regarding that. And if anybody is found to be doing anything wrong, I would like to think they face the consequences of their actions. But anyway, guys, huge raid nonetheless. Thoughts in the comments below as always. California lawmakers have voted to allow higher ethanol fuels to be sold at gas stations in the Golden State. Lawmakers on Wednesday voted to allow the sale of higher ethanol gasoline blends that could help bring down fuel prices in the largest US auto market. The sale of E15, a blend containing 15% ethanol and 85% gasoline, would be allowed immediately once the bill is signed by Governor Gavin Newsom. California has been the only US state that did not allow the sale of this fuel previously. The move will likely benefit biofuel producers and corn farmers, as it will expand the market for their products to the most populous US states. California's state senate passed the bill AB 30 in a unanimous 39-0 vote. The measure passed the state assembly back in June. Newsom has directed California regulators last year to study whether the state could increase ethanol by blending in gasoline, but that work is not yet completed. California has been grappling with how to rein in skyrocketing pump prices while maintaining its ambitious environmental goals. There are rumours, of course, that potentially the price of the pump could get all the way up to $8 per gallon, which would be disastrous for a lot of people and businesses in California. And according to a University of California study, it estimates that this will save around 20 cents per gallon for consumers. But I got some thoughts on that, guys, and I'll let you know at the end of the video. Jeff Cooper, who is the president of the Renewable Fuels Association, said the following in a statement, quote, "With today's passage of AB 30, California is taking a big step towards lower gas prices and cleaner, more sustainable fuel for families across the state. Many other states have already seen the benefits of E15, healthier air, better engine performance, and cost savings at the pump. Now California drivers are on the cusp of experiencing those advantages, and we urge Governor Newsom to sign the bill into law as quickly as possible." So, interesting stuff. So there are two things I really want to highlight when it comes to this. So here in the UK, we recently switched, maybe about 5 years ago now actually, but we switched from having E5 fuel to having E10 fuel for some blends. Now, the problem with that is that it's not actually usable for some older vehicles, and I imagine it's going to be even worse for some that have E15. If E15 is only working in newer cars, people who have older vehicles may not be able to use it. Of course, it's not going to be the only one on offer. My old Hyundai, that didn't used to run on E10, so I had to go with the premium fuel instead. So for me, in that situation, it didn't save me money, it cost me money. Although it did make my car run a little better, I suppose, with higher premium fuels, but overall that car wasn't long for the world anyway. It only lasted about 2 years or so after that, so maybe it actually made things worse, who knows. But when it comes to E15, is it going to save people money? Well, in theory, yes, but in practice, maybe not actually, because that's all dependent on whether the vendors of gasoline actually pass the saving on to the consumer. And will they? That's debatable. They probably won't, to be honest. I know here in the UK, for example, the price at the pump actually went up after this measure came in. It's gone back down again now, but, you know, I wouldn't say overall petrol is cheaper now compared to what it used to be before E10 was introduced. It's actually more expensive. So, yeah, I mean, take that as you will. Everything's going up in price, but that's just my own personal thoughts there, guys. And in terms of actually making your car better in terms of the fuel efficiency, that will actually go down because overall corn-based ethanol is more carbon intensive than gasoline. So you'll actually not be doing a better miles per gallon because you're running on effectively 85% gasoline rather than 90% if you had E10. So yeah, big problems there really, guys, but get your thoughts in the comments below. Personally, I'm very cynical about this from my own personal experience, and I imagine people in the Golden State are probably feeling the same as well. Whenever the government says something like, oh, this will save you money, this will be great for you, don't take them at the word because, yeah, they might say in their studies it'd be better, but in reality, in the real world, maybe not quite so simple. There's a lot of talk going around about autonomous vehicles, self-driving cars one day being the norm. In fact, we already have self-driving cars in some cities across the United States, where of course Waymo are active. But what about other types of vehicles? What about heavy goods vehicles? What about semi-trucks, whatever you call them in your part of the world? Will those truck drivers be replaced by AI? Will they become autonomous in the near future? Because some people are predicting that a lot of these haulage vehicles will be piloted by artificial intelligence by not even 2035, not 2030, by 2027, just 2 years away. Now, this seems a bit aspirational or a bit dystopian, depending on your kind of outlook here. But what's the truth behind it? Is this going to happen? Is it not? Let's have a look, guys. Interesting story here for sure. So there's no doubt that self-driving vehicles are becoming closer to a reality and are going to expand in terms of their influence and popularity over the next few years. This goes for a lot of different branches of AI, and indeed a company called Plus AI have released their first half of 2025 performance results, which look very positive if you want your trucks to be piloted by AI in the near future. These results show how far the company has come towards its goal of launching a factory-built autonomous truck by 2027. The numbers in this report are clear. Safety case readiness reached 86%, with a goal of 100% by its launch in 2 years' time. Autonomous miles percentage climbed to 98%, and remote assistance-free trips rose to 76%, with a target of more than 90% by 2027. You might not understand what that means, but it basically shows that Plus AI is moving closer to having fully autonomous trucks in the near future. Obviously, this is something that is going to affect anybody that travels on the road. Obviously, if you are a truck driver, it's going to cost you your job effectively, which is very bad for your profession for sure. But in terms of just general road use, everybody uses the same roads as trucks. You are going to be on the road at the same time as them. It is not something that is exclusive to highways, motorways, or any kind of intercity route. You see trucks everywhere. They're always delivering to supermarkets, to shops, to markets, anything like that. So obviously, you're going to see them out and about. So ensuring that they are safe for everybody is absolutely paramount. And one of the main challenges for the trucking industry in the United States, in the UK, and around a lot of places around the world, is just not as many truck drivers as what is required to be able to run it effectively. And AI can plug that gap. Because right now, there just simply aren't enough drivers to keep things going. There is a huge shortage in that regard. Things such as fatigue, tiredness, and stuff like that is also a big concern. At the end of the day, truck drivers are human. They are mandated to only have a certain amount of driving hours per day. AI is different though. As long as it can run safely, in theory, it can run 24/7. Plus AI are feeling very confident about being able to help in this regard as well, as they have logged more than 5 million miles across the US, Europe, and Asia so far in their testing. And all that data effectively feeds into the system and makes it more efficient for the next time. Plus AI are currently working with Traton Group, Hyundai, and also Iveco as well, some massive companies there, and they are using that to integrate their technology into their trucks. The initial launch of these autonomous trucks is set for the Texas Triangle, a major freight corridor connecting Dallas, Houston, San Antonio, and Austin in the southern United States. And from there, if everything's successful, they plan to expand further into the US and eventually to Europe. But is it going to be a success? Will you feel comfortable with an AI-powered truck driver being on the same road as you? I want to hear what you have to say in the comments below about this, guys. I'm sure you've got plenty of opinions about it. A Tennessee state trooper very much has egg on his face after making an 8th false DUI arrest of a sober person. Obviously, DUI, driving under the influence, if you're doing that, you are under the influence of something like alcohol, something like drugs, and therefore you should not be driving. And it's pretty obvious when these people are actually drunk or in some cases on drugs. At least that's the job of police anyway, to figure out whether that's the case. But this state trooper is on an absolutely awful run here. 8 false arrests for DUI. That's shocking. Let's have a look at the full story, guys, here on the channel as always. Tennessee State Trooper Sam Zahn's 8th identified sober victim of a false DUI arrest turns out to be a rather sober 71-year-old former US attorney. Not someone you want to get on the wrong side of. WSMV News have uncovered 16 cases of sober people being arrested for DUIs, and 8 of them by the same trooper in the same state, namely Sam Zahn. Of course, these people will eventually be found innocent of these alleged crimes. They're not going to face charges because of them, but it very much disturbs people's lives. You know, they're being taken out of their car, they're being put into jail potentially for a little bit. Now, what's happened to Zahn in response to this? Has he been fired? Has he been suspended? Has he gone for some kind of education course or something on how to identify a drunk person? No, nothing. Nothing's been done about this so far. And wherever you are, whether you're in Tennessee or another part of the US, if this does happen to you, all you got to do to get out of this is demand a blood test rather than just going off of the police officer's instincts, which of course can be incorrect. And in the case of Zahn, usually are correct going off of this. Now, obviously, this does take a lot of time to clear, but you are free to go while this investigation is pending. And I imagine off the back of this, there are going to be some very credible lawsuits against the police. Now, in terms of the overall numbers for Tennessee, since since 2017, the same period that we're taking these 8 false arrests from, there were over 600 sober people arrested for DUI. Yes, 600 sober people arrested for DUI. So there's a lot of people that this is affecting. It's a very common thing. And it does seem as though there needs to be consequences for these actions. Like I said, Zon hasn't gone for any kind of education course, any kind of punishment coming his way. So the officers are just going to keep doing it. But the question is why? It's just making more hassle for them. Do they genuinely believe these people are drunk and disorderly? Or are they just trying to get their arrest numbers up? Are they just trying to harass people? I really don't know on this one. But guys, let me know in the comments below. Is this a common problem across the United States? Do a lot of people get arrested unfairly in other states across the Union when it comes to alleged DUI offences? I want to hear what you have to say about this one, because going off of Tennessee, which is by no means the biggest state in the US, it very much seems as though a lot of people are getting falsely accused here. Like, share, comment, subscribe as always, guys. And yeah, be careful out there. Drive safely.